This is Trisha Schmalhofer with BAM, Badasses, Alchemists, and Mystics. And I am here with a BAM. What's your name?
With Kim O'Neill.
Kim O'Neill! And she is a BAM. I made her not talk to me until we started because I know that she and I are just going to flow. And I'm like, we can't start talking or we'll cover everything. And welcome, Kim. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Trisha. I'm glad to be here too. Be on the BAM, Badasses, Alchemists, and Mystics. I love your title. It's awesome.
Thank you. I love it too. There's a story behind how that got evolved into that name. But that'll be another podcast. So navigating the clickety-clack, how to live a peace-filled life in a seemingly toxic world is a #1 international bestseller, Kim. Did you know that?
I kind of heard it. Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Pretty amazing. This wasn't my first book, but it is my first book that became an international bestseller. And I don't want to take any of your questions away from you, but should I go ahead and speak to that?
Go for it. And we might not even, the questions I sent you, we might not even do. So you go with it. Flow.
Okay. So for me, it's, like I said, this wasn't my first book, but it was my first book that became an international bestseller. And I had the reaction of, okay, we accomplished our goal. Awesome. And what's next? I was kind of in that space. And I know as a coach that no, you celebrate everything. But it just, with everything happening this year and me wanting to be present with myself and yet be mindful of other people and just so many other things, I didn't fully absorb it at the moment. So I actually had 2 moments where it hit later. About a week later, all of a sudden it started to sink in. I was like, whoa, what? Like, oh, that's wow. Like, just kind of like, what? And then a month later, one of my Facebook memories came up, and that's when it sunk in even more, because the Facebook memory was basically a post I had written 8 years ago, which was a post that came after the fact of the story that I shared in the book, which was this, experience that I had of being faced with a layoff and not being certain if I was going to have a job to go to and a paycheck to get immediately after that job. And so it was the post of going, hey guys, I'm beyond that. And this is what happened. And oh my gosh, and thank you. And so that was a real full circle kind of moment going, oh my goodness, 8 years later, I'm telling that story in a book that not only became a bestseller, but an international bestseller. And what Jack Canfield and Bob Proctor and Chrissy Whitman and Keith Leon, like all these other people are in it, like, whoa. And so that, so if you were to ask me what was my experience and my reaction, that's what my experience has been.
That is incredible. And those Facebook memories, sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, that was 5 years ago. And that's where I was. And look how far I've come. Yeah. And sometimes they're like, ooh, I don't want to have that memory.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's kind of interesting how it marks our time, But yeah, I also had a #1 bestseller last year. So the international thing was really cool. And just being in this with a collaborative book, this is the second collaborative book. And frankly, I was surprised I said yes to this, but it was something that was deep within me that was like, yes, because this is an important book with really cool badasses, alchemists, and mystics. Like the people in this book really walk their talk, and it shows in their chapters. And so let's see. Gosh, let's start with what's behind me here. Be more of you. So, I'm cheating a little bit because with the other interviews that I've been doing, I've been taking it from their chapter. And I had one from your chapter I was going to have behind here, but I actually got this from your website, from one of the videos you had on there about your coaching program. And I freaking watched that whole thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this girl's amazing. Like she's a fabulous coach. And there were several phrases on there. So the be more of you, can you like explain a little more about that?
Yes, yes, yes. So be more of you. I love that phrase. That is really speaking to what I've come to learn about so many people is in my own lived experiences too, is we come to be so comfortable with, well, this is who I am and this is who I'm comfortable showing. This is what I'm comfortable showing the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these other aspects of me that, I may know they exist, but is it safe to show them? Is it safe to be them? Is it safe to really put that out there in the world?
Right.
And yes, it is. Yes, it totally is. And I want everybody to know that. I want everyone to know that absolutely it is okay and it is more than safe to put yourself out there and show the world who you really are. That quote right now, what the world needs now, well, I just did one of these myself, but what the world needs now is more people who have come alive. I don't know who said that. Have you heard something like that?
No. But keep going. No, the world does need people. Keep going with that. I have another little mantra that I'm going to talk about that's kind of like this. So keep going with that.
Okay. Yeah. There's a quote. So if someone out there knows it, I know it's been around for a while, and it's something to the effect of, the world needs more people who are lit up, and so go do that. Go be that. Be your lit up self. And I just absolutely resonate with that. And that's also the essence behind be more of you. When I first started putting that phrase out there, there was someone else who was saying, they were sharing their own perspective on it and saying, well, it's not be more of you, it's be all of you. And I completely agree, be all of you. And I say be more of you because for so many people, be all of you feels like too much of a leap. But can you just start with what's that next part of you that is wanting to emerge, wanting to be shared and expressed? That's the next thing then. Allow yourself to do that. I feel like we're all here to step into more of that and allow more of that to take place. So to me, it's be more of you, claim who you are, showcase it. That's what helps inspire and light up other people. And that's what's fantastic about how we're all connected is when one person does it, gives that next person permission. Not that anybody needs permission. You already have it. And yet it's like, oh, okay. Oh, great. I can do that too now. So that's kind of the essence behind be more of you. And I love when people, allow themselves to be their authentic self and stop questioning and second guessing and holding back. Right. I mean, I could say so much more anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I like that, about being lit up. And because one of the BAM principles is people that are shining their light in the world. Like those are the badasses, alchemists, mystics, and we're all BAMs. We all are. We all have that light to shine. And it is like a flame. Like when you are allowing yourself to be you, it flickers the flame in somebody else to be them and to be them. My phrase is embrace your weird.
I love that. That's awesome.
And because we are all weirdos in some way and we think, oh gosh, that's not going to be accepted or that's a little bit weird. No, like be your unique self and just express it, because chances are there's a percentage of the population that likes that same thing or does that same thing, and it's going to inspire them to do that, to be them. So that's why I really embrace your weird and be your magic was my personal phrase this year. So when I saw that be more of you, I'm like, oh, this is my girl here.
I love that you use the word embrace. That's another word that I use too, because the more that one person embraces it for themselves, it becomes easier for others to embrace that person, but also embrace it within themselves. So it's just kind of part of that permission piece. But yeah, it's perfectly okay. And I also think that it's those clickety clack moments, those moments of challenge, adversity, of what the heck is going on, that also kind of helps give an added boost and dose of, hey, if not now, when? Do it now. You know, like your time is now. Claim it. You have every right to claim it, right? If you
Yeah.
don't know what's coming tomorrow, heck, do that thing now.
Yes. Another thing that really grabbed me in your media was you're right on schedule. I think it's a part you just spoke during your video clip there. And I'm like, yes, because how many of us feel like we're behind the eight ball, or we're not being enough, or we're not where we need to be? And I often say that to clients and to myself. It's like, no, 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 no. You're right on schedule. There is nothing behind you that's gonna, like, squash you. I like the behind the eight ball because I really feel like that's true for me. So you're right on schedule. That's beautiful.
And I love that you highlighted that. And yes, I think so. And so speaking to the clickety clack kind of moments again,
Yeah.
it's, I've noticed a lot of people it can be so easy to go, oh my gosh, no, this has to be done. I'm done with this. I know I don't have time for this. I don't have room for this in my life. This is screwing up things. And what I've learned is, no, you're right on schedule. Wherever you are in, whatever phase you are in, that clickety clack, that adversity, that challenge, you're right on schedule. And it's okay to be exactly where you are so that you can learn the lesson and move beyond it. I think that when we jump to, this is kind of speaking to another element of where that phrase initially came from, but I'm just sharing because that's what's coming up now.
Go for it.
I think when we jump too quickly to, no, I'm done with this. This isn't happening. I don't have time for this issue to happen. Then we're like, we're doing that, like swimming upstream, fighting against the current, trying to get beyond it. And we actually can get through it much quicker when we allow ourselves to go, wait a second, no, everything's happening as it's meant to in this way. I may not have foreseen it. I didn't expect it. And it's okay. What is this teaching me? What is this, part of my life, giving me right now? Like, just allowing yourself to be in it so you can move through it. Anyway, I really wanted to share that. But definitely, we get older and older and we think that, oh no, I haven't finished this one thing, or I never started that other thing. And the time is always right. You're never off schedule. And so I think that that's definitely a key message for a lot of people to hear and embrace, and stop that self-judgment of them thinking that, they didn't do things maybe in a way that they're supposed to, and shitting on themselves and all of that. You're right on schedule.
Right.
It's all okay.
And by saying that, I like the be in it so you can move through it, because I think that was a theme in your chapter in the clickety clack. And we're going to talk about your chapter, but I think that you're right on schedule just takes that pressure off. It takes some pressure off so you can kind of flow and enjoy, the process. So being in it so you can move through it. So the basis of your chapter was a defining moment in your life when you had a job, you were going to lose the job, you were in a master's program, and then you had to look for another job. So all of that happening is quite a clickety clack, changes in multiple areas, right? And what ended up happening, I mean, we don't want to like recap the whole chapter, but something that you said about that I want to, that commitment to yourself, I think is so important. That you said, all right, I have all of these things on my plate, but I'm going to commit to myself that I'm going to manage all of them, and I'm going to keep plugging away. Right. So it ended up working out wonderfully for you.
It did. That story took place before clearly I know what I know today about law of attraction, about manifestation, even about energy, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really interesting looking back and seeing how powerful, you know, information about energy and law of attraction and all of those things is fantastic. I freaking love it. I'm so grateful for it in my life today. And even if you don't have all of that, there's so much power in making a decision and committing to what it is, the direction that you want to move towards, the goal that you want to manifest and the reality you want to create, all of it, deciding and committing to it and then taking action. And it doesn't have to be some outrageous, what's the miracle answer kind of action. It's just simply what do you know to do in this moment. And so it's very interesting for me to be able to look back and go, oh my goodness, seeing how that played out. And at the time, I'll just even say that I was not doing it at that time. I didn't know the power of allowing myself to even be present with my emotions. I had some of that, I'm fighting against the current and the reality and all of that going on back then. And so that's why, I definitely added in at the end of my chapter, talking about taking care of yourself, and you don't have to fight through challenges in that same way. But yeah, it was definitely highlighted the power of decision for sure.
Yes. And, and even once you were looking for the job, you had an offer at the current job and then it's like another clickety clack of, oh, now I got to make a decision, and yeah, I think sometimes when we aren't considering self-care or in the beginning of a clickety clack, it is just pure willpower getting you through, mm-hmm. right? It's like, okay, we're going to just keep plugging away. But eventually, you talk in your book about trust and faith, adding that in. You want to?
There wasn't room for anything other than that. Like this was, one of those things that there isn't room for doubt. There isn't room for any other option other than I have another job. Like that was the only, in my mind for what I was going towards, there was no other outcome other than I will have another job. And that's why I repeated that so much in the story, because I just kept repeating that to myself and in my head. And every time I was looking for a job and applying for jobs and all the different things, that was just the one repeating thing. Like, I will have a job. Mm-hmm. I won't have any gap in employment. I'm
your commitment.
Yes. Yeah. It was, and when it happened where I got the next job, I know we're telling some of the story, but
sorry.
It was kind of mind blowing to me to go, oh my goodness. I literally ended the first job on a Friday and started the next one on a Monday. There was zero gap. Yeah. And I enjoyed the first job and I ended up with an even better job after it. I mean, like I wasn't even looking for that. I just wanted to have a job. And so yeah, it was really awesome to see how it came together. And then just so much more unfolded after that isn't in the chapter, but it was really beautiful how it came together.
Well, since it wasn't in the chapter, do you feel like elaborating on what came after that?
You know what? I'm glad this came up. So this is also just about divine connection and timing and all of it. This next job that I had, not only did it have more money, not only was I able to be in more of a role that highlighted more of my skills and allowed me to connect with more people who, I both enjoyed working with, but I also enjoyed them just as people and all of that. There was, and I haven't shared a whole lot of this, but I did share it with some of my coworkers back then. There was a whole healing element to even having this job that occurred for me that I was not looking for. I would have never expected, I'm going to get another job and then I'm going to heal aspects of my personal life. Right.
Right.
Yeah, like nobody, you don't do that. That's just not something you expect. And I was just blown away. And it was because of the nature of who I was working with, who they were as people. And I do believe that they were divinely, we were divinely guided to be in each other's lives and impact each other in the way that we did. And I was only there for less than 2 years before I got the next promotion and moved on to something else. But it just was so profound, the healing that took place. And there were tons of tears shed when I left there, because it really was a very pivotal moment in my life. But yeah, that would be the added piece to include is again, you don't know why things are happening. You know, why am I losing my job? Right. I've been here just getting settled, doing well, starting with my master's and moving forward. And then life throws you a curveball you're not expecting. And oh, well, that's because we want to give you more money, and we want to help you heal, Kim. And we want to help you, showcase some more of your leadership and your skills and your talents. And so we're going to have to throw you this curveball. And if you'll just trust and have faith, then things are going to turn out even better than you ever expected. We don't know all that at the forefront. And so that's where the trusting comes in. And I think my level of commitment to not having a gap in employment is where the trust and faith just also got automatically inserted. And I'm able to look at it a little more differently now and understand, okay, if I'm not feeling that at the forefront, it's okay. I can allow myself to kind of surrender into that, because I don't believe that we are meant to do everything alone and on our own. And that's a lesson I've had to learn, more than once. So I can speak to the lesson piece more than once, but we can think that we're all alone, and we're not. So
that's right. That's right. And not alone in a spiritual sense, with the faith and trust, but even, not alone as far as like asking for help and community. And you did allude in your chapter to the fact that the new job gave you kind of a sense of a family.
Yep.
And that kind of connection that you weren't, like you said, you had no clue that's what was going to happen, But I think when we're in the middle of a clickety clack and we have that, we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. Sometimes it is about asking for help, whether it's by a professional or about like friends or family members or maybe a church community or whatever it is that we're plugged into, or maybe finding a connection if we don't have one. So, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think when there's a lot of that determination too, any resistance to asking for help, I mean, this is a plus, can get thrown out of the way, because you're like, no, I'm determined on this thing happening. So, I'm not going to resist help. I'm not going to resist offers of support from different angles. And that was one thing that was a little easier for me in that experience too, because when I was faced with this and just working all day long and then coming home and basically applying for new jobs, looking for a new job becomes a second job when you're already working. And it was like, okay, yes, what else can I do? Well, let me ask for help. And so I was telling people, hey, this is my situation.
Yes.
Do you know of anything, right? Like help, steer me in the right direction if you know of something. So that was another thing.
Yes, exactly. Kind of getting people they might have a job opportunity, that you, it's okay that you're doing this instead of keeping it a secret. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. It's like, no, hey, I'm going to lose my job. Like, help me,
Yeah.
Do you know anyone? So, yeah, there's so many, like, this book is fabulous. Like, it really is almost like mentors. I think one of the other authors, Janie Roberts, that I interviewed that's in here was like, this is like a book of mentors right here, just by what we're sharing and what we're having to offer. And so KimO'NeillCoaching.com is your website, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And you have a podcast called Every Day is a New Day.
I do. Yes.
Thank you. The name of that.
Thank you. I do too. Every day is a new day. Inspirational conversations about moving forward and choosing to be more of you. And this year we did something a little differently. This year I ended up doing a series called Rise and Shine that was more subject matter focused and bringing in different guests where we do highlight the guest, but really focused on the listener and the audience, and really helping to bring back that focus to, wait a second, regardless of clickety-clack moments that may be going on around you,
Right.
and your personal life, just, the grander scheme of life, this is still your time. You're still right on schedule. And that's where the power of choice comes in to go, wait a second. Yes. What am I choosing to focus on? Am I allowing something else to take me off course and make me think that I am reliving Groundhog Day? Or do I get to choose, today to be, for me? And what am I going to do from here? And I fully believe that it all starts with the individual first, and then everything comes from there. And so that's what Rise and Shine was all about, is really about bringing back that empowering aspect of where is your alignment? What are you focused on? And you have choice. And that's been a recurring theme throughout the entire Every Day is a New Day show. All the conversations with everyone is that's right. We get to choose. So
how often do you do your podcast?
So that is a great question. It's switched up a little bit this year. So we were going weekly, and then we went twice weekly, and now we're on a little bit of a break.
Yeah. A little holiday break.
Yeah, we're on a little break here. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing it twice a week, and that's been fun and a different experience for the audience and myself. And but yeah, 1 to 2 times a week is what I would say.
Okay, great. And how would people, if they want to tune into your podcast, where could they find that?
So we air first on Facebook. So on Facebook, on @KimO'Neil the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page, but then it also airs on YouTube and of course, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, all of those platforms.
Good, lovely. And they would just look up Every Day is a New Day?
Yes.
Where they find it? Wonderful.
Exactly.
Let's see. There was some other things that I want to go over. Another thing from your website, you know what? This was an interview you were on that was highlighted on your website, and something you mentioned is really grabbing me. You talked about one of your clients would be a man wanting to connect to his emotional self and needing some coaching behind that. And I think that is phenomenal because I too recognize that. I have quite a few male clients, and a lot of times with coaching and programs like this, it's geared towards women and empowering women, and men need assistance in this shift we're going through in humanity, because they're becoming aware of intuitive gifts, emotional self. The light in them is starting to shine bright. And I know working with men that peer pressure, fear of judgment is really strong. So is there anything you want to add about that?
I love that you're bringing this up, Trisha. That is something that showed up unexpectedly over the last few years. My focus, I was never necessarily focused on just women or anything, but that became kind of the pattern, is seeing, okay, you know what, I tend to connect most with female clients, and that's awesome. That's fantastic. It's all good. And then men would show up out of the woodwork. And they would send me private messages and say, oh my gosh, Kim, you're helping me so much. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, number one, thank you, because that's just always very rewarding as a coach to know that you're, and a podcast host, right? You sometimes wonder, am I connecting with anybody? Is anybody listening here?
I know.
Right?
I'm talking to the air. Okay. It's great content, but no one's hearing it. Great.
Exactly. So it's just, oh goodness. I love that you brought this up, Trisha. I think that there are, men who are deep feelers and may also be very masculine, and they think that they can't be more of themselves. They think that they can only be this or that, and they're struggling with it. And you can be both. You are both. And it's just a matter of learning how to allow both of those to coexist with each other. And ultimately, I think that when a person, this isn't just men, females experience this too, but when it comes to men, I think that when you can allow yourself to just embrace them both and allow yourself to have your emotions, and if you express them, publicly or just silently, even whatever, however you express them, allow yourself to express them, allow them to be without judgment. And it takes nothing away from who you know yourself to be as a strong, powerful, masculine man, if that's who you are. And, And I just think it's beautiful. I think that any person who is in the process of integrating those two sides of themselves, you become even stronger. You become even more powerful. You get to know yourself in, bigger and bolder ways than you may have known yourself prior to then. And I get that it's a scary process. And so I love being able to serve people who are in that space and hearing from those people and, how can I better serve you and support you? And there's nothing wrong.
Right.
There's nothing wrong about it. That can be another experience that feels very isolating, and you feel like no one understands what I'm going through because I don't know what I'm going through. And it's okay. You're not the first one to have it. And yes, your experience is unique to you. And you're still, I'm going to bring this up because I love that you brought this up, Trisha. You're still right on schedule. I would say that the fact that that is happening, if you are having that deep internal experience, maybe you're confused about what's going on, that is evidence you're right on schedule. Exactly. Because that's what our world is moving towards. That so many people are having their own unique experience of that somewhere along that spectrum of allowing their head and their heart to just both be and
yeah.
And it's all good.
It is all good. And, it's true. This applies to women and men. But I want to stick with men for just another minute because I know you worked in the police department, the fire department, which predominantly are male. I mean, there's, of course, women in there as well. But there's a certain mindset. I work with people in those fields as well. There's a certain mindset that you got to be tough and you get through it and stomach through it. And, you stuff down the emotions. And I also have a couple, they look like big burly biker guys that are like salt of the earth, like they have, in fields, and they're on my table or afterwards. And we're talking about things about that's going on in their body or emotions. And it's like, this is important that they have a safe place, that everyone has a safe place to share these things, but especially men. Yeah. I just felt like I wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you did. That reminds me of when I was leaving my job at the police department, I, for so long, had actually hidden the coaching and energy healing aspect of myself because I felt like they're not going to get it. They're going to judge it. They're not going to accept it. And I really have to, okay, well, this is who I am at my day job. And then outside of there, that's when I get to, embrace more of my coaching and the energy healing and all of that stuff. And it was literally the last day of work at the police department. I walked over to the printer to pick something up. And there was one of the sergeants, definitely a very masculine sergeant, he was just, and he said, "Hey, Kim," he said, "I heard something." He said, "I heard that you do Reiki and coaching." And my initial reaction was, "Oh no." And thank God it's my last day, right? I kind of initially had this, cat's out of the bag, right? Like, how did he find out? And before I could even say anything, he said, "Oh my gosh, I wish I would have known sooner."
Yes.
And he continued on with, how awesome he thinks that is and how he, just his thoughts and how he connects to all of that and personal development and healing. And it was such an eye-opening moment for me to go, oh, wow. By me thinking I was keeping myself safe and holding back and blocking off, I actually, exactly. And so we're speaking to my personal experiences of being more of you. You never know who's listening. You never know whose life you're going to be able to make a positive difference or, a positive imprint on just simply by being who you are and allowing it to be seen and all of that. That brings up another story. Can I share something else real briefly?
Sure. Let's go for it.
I won't name names, but there is a lady that I'm connected to on social media who has been looking for a kidney donor for a long time. And her story is very inspiring and she's still going strong and we're keeping the hope and the faith for her. But she actually just shared a story about how by simply advertising on social media that she's having this experience, looking for her own donor. She actually inspired someone else that she doesn't even know to literally donate their kidney to someone else that they were a match for. And that person recently came back to her and said, I did it. I'm in a lot of pain and I don't regret anything. I wouldn't change the world for this. I'm so glad I was able to donate a kidney to this complete stranger. And thank you for inspiring me with your story.
Mm-hmm. And she was who she was. And
Yes.
she explained what, reaching out for help, being who she was. And, it's like what you said in the very beginning, I think, is even with the sergeant, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look at each other with the outer thing we're presenting, and we go through life saying, oh, well, I can't be my total self in front of that person because they're not going to get it.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I got invited in to do, I do work with the police department around where I am. And I got invited in to talk about Reiki and to talk about energy healing. And I got a few police officers from that. And one of them is, she has a little office, and she's a police officer, and she gradually started becoming who she was at the office and has like plants and crystals. And she's like, I can't get officers out of my office. They'll just come and plop themselves down and just say, it just feels really good in here, and they might poke fun at her, but they feel the healing. And she's slowly emerging and letting her be more of her, even in the workplace around her colleagues. So be who we are, embrace your weird and your magic, and just let your light shine.
I love it. I love that story. And absolutely, I just want to remind everyone, you don't need anyone else's permission. You already have permission to be who you are.
Be who you are. So say how people can get in touch with you again, Kim.
Yes. So they can go to my website, KimO'NeillCoaching.com, and O'Neill is ONEILL, KimO'NeillCoaching.com. Connect with me on the contact page. There's lots of different links there, and definitely reach out if this is resonating with you. I love being able to help people shine and put themselves out there and feel that freedom and relief that comes with all of that too.
Freedom and relief. Those are really two good words that I love. All right, Kim, thank you so much. And thank you everyone else for watching. This is Trisha Schmalhopper with BAM, Badasses Alchemist Mystic. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Trisha.